Hey everyone, my name's Chef Jean-Paul Bourgeois, and today I'm cooking up crawfish sliders. And when I'm looking for the perfect seasoning blend to make these sliders taste like home, I'm reaching for Slap Ya Mama every time. Let's get cooking. First things first, let's go over some of these ingredients because ingredients matter, especially in this recipe where we want fresh Louisiana products. First, we have shrimp. Now, I did say crawfish sliders, but I'm going to show you how these shrimp get incorporated into this recipe. These are good peeled and deveined Louisiana brown shrimp. And then also we have Louisiana crawfish tails. These are already come peeled. They're already pre-cooked. They're in cryovac bags. They come frozen. This is from Louisiana. Make sure you look for that Certified Cajun and read the small print. They're farm raised in Louisiana, right around Abbeville. We also have some jalapenos, some garlic, lemon, green onions, some seasonings, some butter, and I'll show you how all this folds in. But we got to start with those ingredients first and kind of just identifying why it's important that we use these specific ingredients. Now, the shrimp here and the butter here, this is going to be the foundation of this recipe. When you mix the butter, which is essentially the fat of this recipe, with a shrimp, which is very lean, you're almost making a sausage farce. And a farce is a stuffing that you would make for the sausage. So like, okay, also, remember I told you, this recipe comes from a lobster sausage recipe, which I adapted to make crawfish sausage. And we stuff them into these small little sheep's casings, and they'd be into a pasta and so on. It's a little backstory. But the point is that you need the ratio of fat to meat to make a good sausage. And as we make burgers, I'm making the exact same thing that I used to stuff in those little sausages, but I'm gonna make little patties into sliders. So the same technique goes. We're just trying to find a good, basically we're gonna fold these crawfish tails into this mixture of shrimp and butter. You won't see any shrimp, you won't see any butter in this mixture once it's all done. And again, this will all make sense as we start going through those steps. You'll need a kitchen aid for this. And very simply, what we want to do is we want to combine the shrimp and the butter together to make a smooth farce or a smooth shrimp paste. That shrimp paste we're making, like I said, the butter is acting as the fat and the moisture to that shrimp paste. If you just did this with shrimp, it would just be tough and dry because shrimp doesn't have any fat. So we need to incorporate the fat. The ratio is 2 to 1, 2 parts shrimp to 1 part butter. Or this is 2 pounds. If you wanted to use only 1 pound of shrimp, you would use a ½ pound of butter. And so for this, very simply, we want to just cube this butter up. We'll cut it. This is 1 pound here, since we're using 2 pounds. And then if I'm using 2 pounds of shrimp, I have 2 pounds of crawfish. Essentially, I want the same amount of crawfish as I do shrimp. Or if you got scallops or lobster or fish or just more shrimp, you could also make this recipe like that. You don't need to use crawfish. But for this, I think it's a perfect, especially that we're in the spring right now. We're in the peak of crawfish season. And I'm always thinking about new creative ways to use crawfish tails. And I promise you, once you see this recipe and you try it for yourself, you'll also want to make this recipe more often. It has kind of been one of those recipes I've created that I always come back to time and time again to create for new folks who especially have had crawfish 100 different ways and want to find something new. This is a perfect recipe for them. So what I like to do, I'll just add all of my shrimp. I don't want any of that liquid. So let me get my gloves here. There's some liquid on the bottom of that bowl. I don't want that liquid per se in there. All right, so I'm gonna add the shrimp to this food processor. And also before we start this, because I do want to I need to deal with these crawfish tails. As I said, these crawfish tails are coming frozen now. That said, a lot of folks are out there, they're boiling crawfish on the weekends and they have 10 pounds, 15 pounds of boiled crawfish left. Those tails in this recipe is what's ideal. That would be perfect. It's a great utilization for leftover boiled crawfish if you're peeling the tails. It really makes for a great crawfish burger. But before I go ahead and start working on that shrimp, let me just open these packages up and I'll show you what I'm gonna do. I especially like to do this when I'm using Louisiana crawfish tails, which is almost always the case. Every now and then I'm in a place where I just can't get Louisiana crawfish tails. And in those cases, I don't do what I'm about to do. But I know this is good quality crawfish, and so I'm gonna do this. And that's open those guys up, get them into a colander, and go ahead and throw away that cryovac. Now what I like to do is just take my hand, I give them a squeeze. I'm trying to just get that liquid out. And you can see at the bottom what's happening is that's, you know, again, these crawfish have been cooked, they've been flash frozen, and so they have a little bit of purge to them, right? Some moisture. And you can see that's just like, almost like crawfish essence, like very concentrated crawfish stock. And I just want to kind of squeeze that out as much as I can without crushing the crawfish, just trying to get that liquid out. I take that, go right over here, that stays aside, and I take that out of this bowl, I pour it into a small stock pot. And then right there, I'm just gonna turn that stock pot on and get that cooked and reduced. And what I wanna do with that is once it's about halfway reduced, or reduced by a quarter, just to concentrate it enough, I'm gonna fold that into this mixture. And that's gonna give it a great color. It's also just gonna add just that much more like crustacean, crawfish essence into this mixture. All right, so let's clean up. Our crawfish are ready to go. Eventually, I'm just gonna give them, I might give like half of them a rough chop and leave the other half whole, so you get a mixture of big chunks of crawfish tails, then kind of chopped up, cut crawfish tails. But let's get into the shrimp, because like I said, this really is the foundation of this recipe, is in what I'm about to do right now. And so once all the shrimp is in, we're just gonna give that a start. And as you can see, it's chopped up pretty good as it is right now. We're gonna just keep that going. And little by little, I'm gonna add these cubes of butter and let them fold in to this shrimp paste. Little by little, just keep folding it in. It's 2 pounds of shrimp, this is a pound of butter. That means I want all this butter folded into there. And when you're about halfway there, you can stop it. Just give it a little mix around the sides. You can see that shrimp paste is starting to become real smooth. That's what we want. Scrape that down the sides, throw it back on. As you keep going, that shrimp's gonna keep tightening, so you're gonna need to mix that down. A lot of air into it. All right, now I'm just gonna add all the rest of the butter. I'm gonna try to get that mixed in. Get that butter softened in there. Now that's all the butter that's in there, so that blade really needs to continue to go. And so if I ever come into this point, I usually find like a little bit of water, just kind of add a little moisture, but you could always just add, so like that's reduced quite a bit. Just gonna add a little bit in there. See if that can loosen it up. Come on, baby, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. And you can see that mixture just really starting to work in that butter. There we go. Just needed a little love. And we would just want to work this mixture till all the butter, till there's no obvious signs or chunks of butter in there, till it's creating this nice smooth shrimp paste. Shut it off, give it a little scrape down. It's looking nice and airy now. It's still got a fair amount of butter in there. I'm gonna just keep working that. All right, next thing I wanna do is I wanna take my crawfish. I'm gonna take about half out, and like I said, rough chop it a little bit. And I'm only doing that so I can get as many tails, or that kind of chunky crawfish tail meat dispersed throughout the floor. So you can leave it as whole. You don't need to give it this chop like I do. I just like to just grab a handful and then just kind of rough chop it in. A couple little pass-throughs with the knife. That's all with that. Maybe a little bit more. It's about a half and half thing. All right. I want to get a big enough mixing bowl to get everything in there. So just take this guy off. Kind of clean that off. It's pretty sticky, right? That shrimp paste really like develops a tackiness, a stickiness, so that it gets a little bit everywhere. All right, and then I'm going to take the rest of this, fold it out into the mixing bowl. In we go. Now from there, pretty simply, I'm just going to add my chopped crawfish tail meat. And my liquids that I reduced is already in there. I'm going to add my whole tail meat. Any purge that dripped out, throw that in there. And then from there, I'm going to start adding ingredients. Now I have jalapenos, I have garlic, I have lemon, and I have green onions. Some Slap Ya Mama seasoning, some black pepper, also some chili flake. All that's going to go in. Now what I like to do for this recipe is I like to microplane my garlic. So I will just take your microplane here or your food grater, whatever brand you got. I'll just give my garlic a good rub on there. And that kind of gets everything, again, it gets it into the garlic in a paste to where that really can disperse throughout this crawfish burger or crawfish slider. I do like making them as a slider. I find they cook a little better when they're in smaller formats. Not that they don't cook great or eat great as an 8-ounce burger. It's just a lot. And I just find just a smaller, like 3-ounce or 4-ounce kind of patty that puts on a slider. It's just a good bite, you know? It doesn't quite equate to like a beef hamburger where you get a 6-ounce or an 8-ounce kind of steakhouse style burger. Then I have roughly like 1 full jalapeno with the seeds in. I'll go straight into there. Just give it a tap because I want to use this now for my lemon zest. I want the zest of a whole lemon. I like to just, different people do it a little differently. You just want to get the yellow off. So it's the beautiful thing about these microplanes is that they take that very top layer of yellow zest off the top. That's the floral, the fruity, the tasty part of the lemon. Once you start getting into this pith, this white section starts to get a little bitter. You want to leave that out. So I'm just giving it a nice, gentle scrape, and you can see I've kind of zested all of that right off the top of that lemon. And we want to add that into our mixture here. Save that lemon for later because we'll probably make a sauce with that as we go along. Next is green onions. I like a lot of green onions in this mixture, and I like it from the root to the tips. And so I'm going to go all the way down here. I love the bottom parts, the white parts of the onion, of the green onion. Green onions go in. All right, now for my seasoning, like I said, I'm going to use some Slap Ya Mama here. I'm not going to add much salt. I will add some black pepper to it, but I'm going to really depend on that Slap Ya Mama to start really seasoning this mixture, this crawfish burger, in a very robust way. So I'm going to be pretty aggressive with it there because I haven't added any salt in there or anything. I'm going to add black pepper. I'm going to also add a couple touches of Slap Ya Mama hot sauce. Now they have a Cajun pepper sauce, and then they have a hot sauce. I like the Cajun pepper sauce a lot. It kind of reminds me of the old school sauces you used to see on the table when you got your gumbo as a kid when you ordered it from a restaurant. It just has that good viscosity. It's thicker, it's robust, it's got a nice vinegar pop to it. Instead of using a spatula, you're more than welcome to use a spatula, but I really like to get in there with my hands for this. And you're just gonna fold all this together. Just kind of fold it in with your hands. We want to get that all mixed together. We want to make sure that garlic gets dispersed, the green onions, the lemon zest, it all gets dispersed, the black pepper. I'm surely not done seasoning this mixture. And so what I'll do is once I feel like I'm at a place to test it, I'll make it a little meatball, if you will. And I'll test it right in that skillet, give it a taste test. I think at this point, we want to try, get a little taste test of it. And we have this skillet here. This is essentially what we will be cooking all of these sliders in. Let's turn it on high. Get a little cooking oil in the pan. Now, you could use bacon drippings. You can use beef tallow. This is olive oil. Use what you got. All right. This is just for taste testing purposes. So I'll just hit it in a nice hot pan. It's not too hot right now. I don't actually want to. It doesn't need to be a ripping sear, right? I'm just trying to cook it enough on both sides so I can give it a taste and know how much more seasoning I need to do. So no need to freak out about this section. Your goal is to cook it enough so you can try it and then move on to re-seasoning and then getting these suckers patted and made into sandwiches. All right, so I've cooked it enough to feel confident that I can try it. So this is just a taste test. Just give it a little cut through here. And you can already see it's a super juicy little patty. And that's what we want out of it. Oh, hot. That's pretty close. It needs some more seasoning though. So I'm gonna add a little bit more slap. This is my main, not just seasoning with salt, but also spice. I'm gonna give that a fold in. I'm gonna keep this guy at least on medium. Remember, even though I think we're gonna be close, I'm not gonna be satisfied until I try another tester before moving forward. That's so close. I'm not gonna do another taste test, but I will give it a touch more slap. Just one little hit, just to bring me right over that mountaintop. And then a couple hits of black pepper. And I'm gonna give that a fold in, and then we're ready to make these into patties. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use a little portion scoop. So I just get a nice flat edge here. Again, this is slider version, so it's probably 2 ounces, 3 ounces maybe at most. I'm gonna just do 6 of them. I got a couple little balls. You'll see how nice that kind of makes them. And I'm doing 6 because that's what's gonna comfortably fit into this skillet that I have. Obviously, we're gonna wanna cook more of these after we demolish these 6, but that's for off camera. All right, so get them nice and portioned. Now I'm gonna turn this heat on to ripping high. I wanna get a good sear on these at this point. And we're gonna use this flat edge to go down on them first. Pan's already pretty hot from the taste testing, so we're pretty close there. And I'll also move this little skillet in here. We'll put it on low right now. We just want to keep this guy nice and warm because we're going to toast our buns on that. We'll also make a little sauce for this, and you can, like I said, you can make this, you can stuff this into a sausage casing and make it into a sausage. I've done that literally hundreds, maybe thousands of times. You can make them into burger patties like this. You can probably eat, like I said, you can even kind of quenelle them or put them in some type of ball and float them in a broth and soup, and they'll firm up like that. They're great in soups in that way. There's really a lot of ways, once you start getting creative, knowing how to make these, there's a lot of ways you can kind of have fun with this recipe. I just absolutely love this recipe because, like I mentioned before, today it's crawfish tails. I've done it with lobster. I've done it with scallops. I've done it with oysters even. I've done it with so many different, and once you have that shrimp paste done with the butter, what you fold into that, whether it's seasonally or whether it's something locally, in the Pacific Northwest, you might not have crawfish tails, but you could have another, you might have, I don't know, red ruby shrimp or different type of crustaceans that you can fold in. And it's just really a perfect recipe to take in, and really those different ingredients find a home in this recipe pretty simply. So what I'm gonna do here, I got my cute little flat spatula. I'm just gonna add them right into the pan and just give them a gentle little smush. In the pan, gentle smush. And just keep going around the pan in that way. Just be careful, it's hot. We're on high heat right now, so I know I'm adding, you know, some cold ingredients to this pan. I want the recovery time to come up a little faster. If they start to stick like that, you can just grab your palette knife and two-hand it. Give a gentle smush down, just like, not quite like you would do a smash burger, but same concept. And you might just need to get that off. And once I got them all in, I'll kind of just give them a redo there. I don't need to blaze it hot and fast the whole time, but I want to make sure that pan recovers properly. It's getting there. We got a good sizzle going on. Let's toast some buns. A little bit of oil there. Let's turn this back up to medium. And just very simply, I'm just gonna get a nice gentle toast on these buns. You can use butter. In fact, butter would probably be preferred here because butter and shellfish and seafood and crustaceans go really well together. Hence why there's a pound of butter in this recipe. All right, let's give it a flip. We'll start with the ones that we did first. Just gonna right under and then right over. See, it's nice and golden brown. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for, folks. All right, continue on that side. We're gonna be making these into sliders, but we're not just gonna go ahead and put them on toasted buns. No. That would be way too easy, way too simple for us here at Louisiana Cooking. We're gonna make them into a full-fledged sandwich. That means we've got a sauce. I'm just gonna add a little bit of mayonnaise. We don't need to use all of this because we're not making a whole bunch of sliders. A little bit of mayonnaise, some Slap Ya Mama pepper sauce, a little bit of that original dry seasoning, half a lemon, and then just give this a little mix around. You want a little spicier? Slap Ya Mama makes a fire sauce, so it's got a lot more cayenne. It's basically the original with more cayenne. That's a great ingredient to better use for it. I can smell them. I can smell that these guys are close. I'm gonna let them firm up a little bit more and keep them going. Let's try these. Let's check these guys out. Oh yeah, these are getting nice and toasty. I'm gonna turn this off. Looking good. We'll move this guy off to the side. I can feel by the tightness, these two are definitely pretty done. I'm gonna remove those onto a clean pan. I can feel it, I can smell it, they look good. I know they taste good. Now we gotta make them into an edible bite. These camera crew guys are licking their chops right now. Are they a little big for the bread? Yeah, possibly, but I mean, this is Louisiana Cooking. This is Cajun food. What would a meal be without an overabundance in one bite? Surely wouldn't be Louisiana, that's for sure. All right, so here we go. Well, how am I gonna make this? Well, you see it. Onion, tomato, lettuce, a little bit of the sauce. We got that. This isn't rocket science, guys. We're gonna build it. And if you build it, they will come. Okay. Here we go. Let's see, I'm gonna go tomato. No, not tomato on the bottom. That doesn't make sense. Let's go that guy. Couple pieces of red onion. Tomato. Lettuce. And then his little top hat. We'll keep building those out. All right, our crawfish sliders are built, sauces on, vegetables on. Those sliders look amazing, but now the real taste test. You've seen me try these things a number of times, making sure the seasoning was right, but this bite is all that matters. When you see it dripping like that, you know it's gonna be good, and these things are fire. God, I can't believe it's taken me this long to make this recipe again after so many years of making it so often. I'm definitely coming back for more and cooking these more often at home. I think you should too. My name's Chef Jean Paul, and I am out.